They're not quite tier 1, but they're definitely not tier 2. We're going to be talking about Rogue for Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Be like the 33% of you guys have not smashed elbow and crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so we can get to 100k. Alright, or even further beyond. Alright, so today we're going to be looking at the top Rogue decks. I would say that these aren't quite like top 5. Actually, 6th best deck in the game that I feel here is actually Praying Kids. When you have 3 Meow Meow Mew that you can play in your deck, it's actually insanity. Now, this is just one of the example decks I kind of pulled off of the thing here, because I wanted to talk about some things that you can kind of add into this, kind of give you an idea of where to go in the right direction. 3 copies of Meow Meow Mew, pretty much one of the craziest interactions you can have. It pretty much starts all of your comp for all of your Praying Kids, alright? Literally any one of these starts full combo. Now, the interesting thing with this particular variant is you can actually use Thunder Dragon Colossus in this deck. As you can see here, this particular build was playing base Thunder Dragon, so you can Thunder Dragon Fusion into the Colossus. You also have Nemesis Corridor here, which lets you target one of your banished monsters, except for Nemesis Corridor. Special summon this card from your hand, and if you do shuffle that other target back into the deck, this technically lets you shuffle your Meow Meow Mew back into the deck. I mean, you should be playing multiples of these anyway, as it is, but one thing to really consider with this deck is how you can incorporate that Thunder package and make a nice little constant use of Thunder Dragon Colossus's Floodgate effect. Alright, the fact that neither player, cards cannot be added from the main deck to your opponent's hand except by drawing them. Isn't it really cool that you can set up a pop 2 on your opponent's turn through the Battling Butler, and then you can set up a Colossus for free? Alright, literally Nemesis Corridor interactions, the deck, ladies and gentlemen. Really, this deck is most notorious for the fact that it can pop and interact on the opponent's turn through Battling Butler. And like I said, putting a Floodgate up to laugh at your opponent feels absolutely good. This is not the most optimized build that you can really play for this game, but this will give you a step in the right direction as to why that particular deck is good. Now, one thing that the OCG meta had at this point in time really was Dragonmaids. Now, one of the things I wanted to kind of showcase with this deck is if a good player can play this deck can grind. Alright? The main thing that makes this deck kind of go round here is your interactions with Chamber Dragonmaid, and then setting up, interruptions through the form of Tidying. Tidying gives you some really good interruptions, by the way. The one big thing that this deck has going for it is it grinds. Now, every one of these I've played on the ladder, unfortunately, gets grinded out by Sky Striker. 2 control decks that can kind of grind out. You'll have a very good time for this. This deck really thrives in a format where Max T exists because you can generate those additional resources for no real reason. Alright, and that's the strong point for this deck, is that resource generation management. This deck is the king of 1-for-1s. I guess I should say the queen of 1-for-1s here, because you have Tidying interruptions, you have Dynamiscus interruptions. Dynamiscus saw a lot of play in the OCG at the earlier point that this deck was near its prime. Alright, you have the Omni Negate through Shio here, and then to top things off, you can really splash in some Striker Dragon stuff in here. Say, for example, you want to play a Boot Sector launch for extender capabilities. You can modify this deck, and you can do that. But this is going to be more of your controlling version of the deck. I actually really do like this list a lot, minus maybe the Ghost Bells. You could probably drop those for maybe something a little bit better, but I feel like at the end of the day, if you want something that was very, very canon to the OCG metagame, this is going to be your best bet. And, I mean, if you're not a control player, this might not be something for you, but Maxi really does carry this deck pretty freaking hard, all things considered. Alright, so that, very, very, very good Rogue choice here. Now, moving on along here with Rogue. I wanted to include Adamancipator in here. Now, I know I haven't mentioned things like Phantom Knights in here, because I'm not too sure where they go here. But for the dedicated Adamancipator players out here, who cares if we don't have Link Cross? You have full power Adamancipator combo with Destrudo and O-Line, which means that those boards that you can make through Block Dragon Oh, Block Dragon. Block Dragon's not banned at all in this game. Now remember, when we went through the whole BS in our format in the TCG, Block Dragon was the sussiest card that we all had. Well, the thing that this deck can do is we can expedite that entire process because we have Union Carrier legal for this format. The fact that you can just target a monster and equip a monster from your hand or deck to it with the same original type or attribute. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Which means that if you really want to get cheesy, you could technically play the Buster Lock in this, and equip it on like a Borreload Savage or something. Now the thing is, this particular build does not play the Borreload Savage, probably because of cost or something like that. But in terms of synchro board generation, O-Lion token advantage and things like this, the only real disadvantage to playing this is combo. All right, you're going to be sitting here for those 4-minute turns and taking the entire 4 minutes to set up. All right, while this deck's skill ceiling is massively high, ladies and gentlemen, I just kind of got to pass it off here and say, yeah, this is one of the scariest decks in this format, I feel. I mean, yeah, you can max C punish this deck, but I mean, if you have Call by the Graves, you have triple cross out designators. Here, you just call the max C, you just laugh at your opponent. Like, what are they going to do, ladies and gentlemen? Nothing? Okay. Solid rocks, brother, the deck. All right, so but this is at number 8. Number 9 here, this was kind of a hard one. And I've looked at a couple tier lists from people, and I was like, you know what? I think we're going to give it to Code Talkers. Now, might not be the most optimized version of this deck, but what this entire deck likes to do is it wants to set up a U-Link. All right, and you can do that. But once again, you kind of have a deck here that I feel requires a lot of thinking and a lot of skill treeing here. Now, I believe a lot of the previous versions of this deck did actually play Crackdown. All right. The cool thing with this deck is you set up like Transcode Talker. By the way, this card's stupid. If you're a beginning player here watching this tier list video, this card, very easy to make, and you can get a lot of free games off of it just because your opponent doesn't know how to deal with this. I've heard a lot of good stories from lower tier players out here that can just find success with the whole Transcode Talker thing. Laugh at the opponent and you're good to go. Alright, but once again, your entire deck is going to capitalize on using these cards that let you produce these link monsters from your hand, and then your opponent's like, oh crap, what do I do? They can't really do anything, ladies and gentlemen. Large monsters go burr. Don't underestimate the power of an access code talker. Even the Splash Mage here being able to get you that free extender from the graveyard is absolutely nuts. Alright, if you ask me if I had any idea how this deck plays, and no, it's usually just Signet conflict set up here. A few of the builds did actually play Crackdowns in the earlier stages. That way, I mean, you set up like your powerful U-Link monsters here, and then you have Crackdown or something to take the opponent's threats. Alright, don't underestimate the power of Crackdown in a format like this as well, because stealing that key monster from the opponent just puts a damper on their entire particular turn. So this does look very strange on paper, maybe not most optimized for scapegoat defense, but the Lady Debugs, a lot of this stuff is very standardized for what you would do with Code Talker. And then I had to think about this. Number 10, I'm putting as Shaddoll / Invoked. Now, the reason for this is you can still play Alistair, the normal summon invoker. It's just not a game experience out here unless somebody's trying to go ha 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 Winda. And you know, you still have Nadir Servant in this game. All right, you can still laugh at your opponent, and you can still sit up and do those crazy boards. All right, you still have Ecclesia. You can still search for punishment. There are so many cool things that you can still do with this deck. At the end of the day, though, I had to put this number 10 because Winda is a very strong card. Makaba is a heck of a card as well. Any sort of like crazy interruptions that your opponent can really set up for you pretty much just kind of feels bad in the void of this deck. So if you're somebody out here that really wants to kind of mess around with something and you're like, oh, I bought this game just to play Alistair the Invoker. I mean, hey man, Alistair Shaddoll fusions. These are supers. I mean, Nadir Servant's also an ultra. These are supers. You have all kinds of things that you're going to have to make a decision on what you want to do with here. But for the most part here, yeah, a lot of super rares, the deck. So I don't know if you guys agree with this tier list or not. Yes, I know Phantom Knights exist. Yes, I know Thunder exists. Yes, I know a lot of these other key decks exist. You know, you have Salad and other things. But I just wanted to say, with TCG players playing in this format, I feel like we're going to explore a whole bunch of other particular decks. I've heard good things about Zephyr as well, but some of these decks have a more acquired knowledge base to them. So we kind of have to see how things officially kind of start to settle up here. But this is just the beginning, I feel. So guys, leave a comment down below what you guys think. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later on the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.